Andrea Klim, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And today is October 28th, 2014, and the topics of the show are going to be probably first 7 minutes of the show. I'm going to be talking about the calendar of events at Turn to the Stars for November, and then preceding that, I'm going to be talking about Mars' path through the constellation of Capricorn and the full moon in Taurus on November 6th. And first I want to share with you, I have an image that is the first one, which is talking about the event, which is our Psychic and Holistic Fair, which is our 26th one, at the Yard Restaurant, which is on Saturday, November 22nd, and the Yard is at 1211 Mammoth Road in Manchester, New Hampshire, and this event takes place from 10 to 4. And what I've done in order to show you about this event, share with you all our participants and our special feature, which is a Spirit's Journey Beyond the Veil, which is an evidential mediumship gallery from 1 to 3, and it is with Sheila Clark and Danielle Dion, and what you'll experience is an afternoon of messages from across the veil. Sheila and Danielle are spiritual mediums, and they will connect with the spirit world and bring validation and messages from loved ones who have crossed over. And this is a really great event, and as you know, we have these events 6 times a year at Turn to the Stars, and it is something that we put out for our community, and it is to raise the awareness of our community to the quality of holistic healing. So I created a video so that we can share with you, all the participants, all the lovely people that'll be there. So I'm going to play that and be right back. Thank you for joining me to watch that video, including all the participants of our next fair. And we do look forward to seeing you there. And pulling it back to the astrology section of the show, today being October 28th, Mercury has finished its retrograde. You've heard that on the past shows that I've talked about Mercury's retrograde. And it ended this past Saturday at 4 o'clock, and right around 4 o'clock. And now we are in what we call the after shadow of its path, and will be completely out of that shadow by November 9th. So I recommend that you allow time for this settling to occur of all these things that you've gone back over 2 times, and allow yourself the time to integrate the new ideas, the things that you've researched, and that you're a lot clearer on now in your life. And moving on, I want to talk about Mars, because Mars, being one of the closest planets to us here on Earth, it does really influence our actions, our activities, the things that we are motivated to take action toward. And it moved into the constellation of Capricorn this past Sunday, October 26th. And will continue on its journey through this constellation through December 4th of this year, 2014. And I have a chart, which I'm going to show you, B. That is the chart with the highlighting. You can see down in the bottom left, the purple area shows Mars moving into Capricorn, and what that looked like from the standpoint of looking at the planets in their orbit and their transits. And what it does indicate is that we'll be seeing a lot more activity in the political arena, that's for sure. Next week is election week. And it also really highlights people's career prospects, and that will be present for the next 2 months. This is an excellent time with Mars in Capricorn to apply for promotions, for positions that involve management. Basically, this is a great time to look upward and step forward. And, looking at this Mars in Capricorn, it really does stimulate that time that we take the time to organize things, to clean things up, to put them in the right perspective. And I'm all set with that chart. And it is also really fortunate for people that are born with the planets in their birth chart in the signs of Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. It is indicative that the things that you are very active and actively involved in, that you will achieve some success in that pursuit. While Mars is in Capricorn, you'll be more driven to succeed. You'll find that you have more discipline and focus to achieve your goals, and you'll be more inclined to work hard for what you want. Capricorn is the sign that is, you see the picture of a goat and the 2 front feet. And it is typically, you see that picture of Capricorn, the goat with its feet on the ground, and it's an unevolved sign, so it has the tail of a dolphin or a fish. So it indicates that we're always climbing further and always seeking higher ground, always looking for the next place. And it is Capricorn is a business sign, so we'll be more inclined to seek those positions in business that are of management, or of climbing the ladder, so to speak. You'll find you have more discipline and focus to achieve your goals, and you'll be more inclined to work hard for what you want. You'll find that you have a strong need to succeed, and you'll be happy to do whatever it takes. One highlight that I'd like to sort of bring your attention to is to be sure to consider other people's feelings during this time, because Mars in Capricorn can be so focused on success, climbing that ladder, getting the job done. It's really a very practical, but it can be sort of a cold sign. So be really careful about other people's feelings, because no one really wants to be lonely at the top. Now, looking at this Mars in Capricorn from a more universal standpoint, Mars moves to form a conjunction aspect with Pluto on November 10th of this year. And that's not too far away, in a couple weeks. And this is a very dangerous, highly discordant astrological configuration. And this aspect carries the markings for escalating violence, with many pressures facing us on a physical level, both health-wise and safety-wise. And I have a chart that I want to show you. There it is. And you can see in the top right corner of the chart, I've highlighted in purple the planet Mars in the constellation of Capricorn and Pluto in the constellation of Capricorn. And there's the conjunction, or the combining, or the conjoining of these two planets. And there is actually a lot going on in this chart. And we see this Mars-Pluto conjunction squaring Uranus in Aries, which is, if you took your finger and traced the red line with the squares in the middle up to the top left, you see the planet Uranus in the constellation of Aries. This energy is really almost primal. And the pressure that that is between Mars, which is the planet which can be of anger, and conjunct Pluto, which is total transitions, complete total transitions. Mars can also be the planet that rules over war and violence and things of that nature. And so we also see this conjunction between Mars and Pluto opposite the moon on this day, which is November 10th, and it holds the signature of something coming out of nowhere, affecting the public, the people of the world. And the moon in Cancer also shows the effects that we're experiencing to our food, our water, and our basic everyday necessities, because Cancer is a very domestic sign. And if I could put that chart back up for a minute, this aspect also holds the signature of an emergency type situation and human crisis. It's actually a chart before this one, which is C. There we go. This configuration that you're seeing on the screen with Mars conjunct Pluto opposite the moon reveals areas where we'll need to be completely honest with ourselves and others about our intentions and our motivations. Very, very important. Oppositions bring awareness too. And we also see on this chart a fixed T-square between Jupiter and Leo, which is down on the left corner, probably around, if we were to look at a clock, around 7 o'clock. We see Jupiter, it looks like a 4 in the constellation of Leo. And Leo, Jupiter is the planet that rules over prosperity, abundance, anything that is big. And Saturn, we see a square. If we took our finger and followed that red line that has all the squares in it, there's actually 3 of them, going over to a combination of planets over on the right side, which we see the Sun, Venus, and Saturn in Scorpio. And Saturn, typically the effects here are our economy. And the area of this chart that's being highlighted by this Saturn, Venus, and the Sun in Scorpio is our health and well-being, our health care systems, and it also highlights our work and being healthy and how we serve others. And you can see those squares are real stressors to us universally, and that there's a lot of work and research being done, and that relationships are affected by this configuration, and that there's a lot of energy being put into uncovering the things that are toxic, that are not healthy, the things that cause us fear. And so there's a lot of pressure, a lot of fixed pressure. We are in a place of crisis in these areas that I've just talked about. And they are challenges that we're facing at this time. What we do see, which is very positive in this chart, is a grand trine in water, which is between the moon, Neptune, and Mercury in Scorpio. And that brings people, to talk about, think about, to converse over how we can help each other, how we can help our families, how we can help our relatives, how we can be of, join together at this time to be of service to each other. So I came across something in my explorations about facing fears, and we can, all done with the chart, about facing fears, which is what many of us are doing at this time with all these things that are present in our lives, such as, the scares with the Ebola, the scares with the, all the fighting that's going on over across the water. And so here's what, because so many of us are facing these fears, I found some things that I thought might be helpful. And one of the things I found is that to remind us all that the doorway to our dreams is often through the doorway of what we fear the most. And that's really something to think about, because the things that we dream about and hoping to achieve, there's often many things that come up along the way that we're faced with overcoming. And what's interesting, as we move toward every single day, since we had the solar eclipse back on November 8th, there was a partial solar eclipse. You saw me talk about that in the last show, which was taking us in a whole new direction. From that time until November 6th, which is the full moon, and even after this moon cycle, but especially as this full moon approaches each and every day leading up to it on November 6th, we're apt to discover what we require and value the most. And we're also apt to discover, because the sun is in opposition, what we realize about what we fear most, the things that we fear most. We're apt to realize that as well. And I have a chart, which is of that full moon. There we see the full moon on November 6th, and the moon is over to the left at 14 degrees of Taurus, and you see the opposition to the sun. And it's interesting because the moon actually sits with us right here on Earth. If this was an Earth, if I was to put Earth in there on that chart, it would be exactly right beside Taurus. So the reflection that we are being influenced by of that full moon on November 6th and every day leading up to it is really bringing us to look at what we value most, and also to become aware of the things that are pulling at us to pay attention to. So, this full moon is kind of interesting because it's just on this full moon, we're just getting a glimpse of what's coming on November 10th, which is the chart you saw earlier with Pluto conjunct Mars. So we will need to confront and face our fears and issues around power. That's what that full moon is indicating. And some of the questions we may be asking ourselves are, what matters most to me? What makes me happy? Am I making a living, or am I just making a life? Very, very important, because Taurus is the sign of values, and the full moon is definitely going to bring this to light for us. Am I spending time and my energy on things I don't really need or want? So those are interesting questions, because oppositions, the sun and the moon in opposite places, can either bring us together, and it also brings up our awareness of what our goals are and what our values are. And are those values strictly material, or are they values that really speak to our heart? And interesting, as Venus continues on its path close to the sun in Scorpio, it holds the influence for us to choose peaceful, happy avenues rather than fearful ones. And we saw that when we looked at the chart, that Venus was right close to the sun, and it was close to Saturn. So there's a whole lot going on in that area. Venus next to the sun also influences us to become clear on what our boundaries are and absolutely what we can put up with and what we cannot. It also influences us to face our shadows, especially in relationships. That means it's things we're scared of, things from the past. So this full moon in Taurus will further influence us to move beyond unhealthy areas which are holding us back from positive change. It encourages us to be brave and courageous and to stand strong even in the face of differences. You know, I often say about differences, it's okay to agree to disagree. In essence, this full moon carries a message that the experiences of life places the medicine needed to overcome right next to where the trouble dwells. There's a teacher of mythology and psychology and a prominent figure that was in the 80s and 90s, Michael Meade, that said, "The gifts always lie near the wounds. The remedies are often made from poisonous substances, and love often appears where deep losses become acknowledged." And that's a very powerful statement, but a very true statement. And so I did want to point out some positive points about what we're experiencing present day in our lives, and especially as this full moon becomes stronger, the energy of its influence and our awareness becomes stronger and stronger every day. And I do also want to point out that November is a month which is very important to us for many, many reasons, because it is a time of transition. It is a time where the spirits are very close to us. The veils are very thin. It is a time where we're more apt to hear and feel our guidance. Our intuition is strong. Our sensitivity is strong. Our emotions are strong. So I wanted to point these things out as being important for November. And I also want to remind everyone to turn to the stars, and you'll find your answers there. They are the world that surrounds us, the planets that surround us here on Earth. So turn to the stars. You will find your answers there. And until next time, take good care. I'll see you then.